Well, speaking of turning off a potential audience, let's talk about WandaVision because I don't understand what's happening. I don't really.
Yeah.
I'm not enjoying it.
Yeah.
I don't really understand it, and I feel like I fall right in that weird nether regions of Marvel fandom where I'll watch whatever you offer me. I'm not gonna, as I've said in the past, I refuse to, stand outside for 3 days to get Black Panther tickets because I live in California. I hate that shit.
Right.
But I'm watching this and I'm like, who is this for? Is this for the unapologetic hardcore MCU fans that like anything and everything that is the MCU? Or is this for people that are kind of above that sort of thing? Are they gonna be interested in this? Like, who is this for? It seems odd. This does not seem targeted towards the kind of mouth breathing slathering MCU people, and it doesn't seem like it's geared towards non-hardcore MCU fans because they're not going to put in they're not going to pick up the Easter eggs to appreciate things, and I'm kind of in that same zone. I don't know what's going on.
The whole show kind of just like, it's like I somewhat enjoy it, but I totally agree. It's Easter egg the show. Like, the whole show is like homework, and like, I appreciate, like, I think it's an interesting swing, all of basically going through like 5 decades worth of famous homages to sitcoms and everything like that, but it is like a strange direction to go. Like, I guess I applaud them for taking the swing, but it does feel like at this point it's like Marvel basically telling you, like, like Marvel has basically gotten to this point where, like, what, you're gonna watch it anyway, so we can basically do whatever the fuck we want. So it sounds like maybe like there are other shows like Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I'm sure the Hawkeye show will be like probably a little bit more straightforward. So maybe this is their, like, kind of almost like Guardians of the Galaxy originally was. Like, they kind of have a movie every once in a while that kind of tests like how weird they can get.
How weird they can get. Yeah,
Ant-Man was kind of like that,
Yeah, well, they found it with Ant-Man, right? Like, we can't get that weird. Like,
yeah.
No one really.
So my biggest beef with the show is, like, I'm somewhat enjoying it, like, but it literally just feels like how it's all Easter eggs for like future things, and there's this weird dissonance between the content of the show and all these like little, like, what the plot is, you know what I mean? Because the all the I Love Lucy homages and everything like that, even though they're really cool, I guess, contextually, and it's impressive, like, how aesthetically well they mimic things, and how smart they are with these little homages, that but like, it's kind of, the show itself is not entertaining. Like, the first episode is like rough to get through up until like the last 2 minutes, I feel like, and it's like, and so on a meta level it's interesting because it's kind of commenting on those kitschy 50s sitcoms and everything like that, but like I was like, I could totally have had 5 minutes of that and I would have gotten the idea, and then you could have moved on to something more interesting. Or like, the fact that it seems like every episode is like her going through another decade of sitcom homages and everything like that. Like, that's an interesting structure, but you could have crammed that into like 3 episodes. I understand, like, it's more, I guess, like, organized to do it in every episode's a different decade and everything like that, and it's like building to something. But
do you think they're gonna stick with that shtick of kind of like, because is it 8 episodes, 9 episodes, right?
It's 9 episodes, but I feel like,
they're gonna run out of.
I wonder.
I'm not. Where's my math?
But
yeah.
The people always are like, the 2000s and the 2010s don't have an identity. You know what I mean? Like, nobody has anything they really. I guess maybe the 2000s at this point. Like, once you. Yeah, I guess the 2000s might be starting to have nostalgia factors in them and everything like that. But so the other thing with the show too is it's almost like that. Like, the big thing everyone's been saying with these Marvel shows is like, oh hey, like, all these Marvel movies have basically been in what is in the comics, like basically the event series, like the things that tied together all the other comics that brought together Spider-Man and the X-Men and everything like that, so you could get more readership. And they always have to be big and bombastic, but these shows are supposed to be like the smaller scale stories where you can really build an arc and have kind of weirder or more intimate stories, which is very cool. But it's almost like now they're wallowing in it a little too much. Like they're like, oh, we have all this like space to stretch out on, and we basically have no restrictions. So I'm wondering.
Well, it's $25 million per episode. That's the budget. Per episode, my goddamn man. So that's why I'm watching this going, wow, Jesus, dude. You know what I mean?
For a show that's intentionally made to look kitschy and cheap,
right? Right. It's well, we built the Titanic set or something. You know what I mean? Nothing is.
I think the I Love Lucy episode, they made a big deal because they were like, yeah, we found the cameras that they shot I Love Lucy on, and we shot the whole thing on those cameras. And I was like, that must have been such a pain in the ass.
But that's the kind of stuff that I really don't. I can't express how little I think that stuff matters to people that are signed up to Disney Plus.
Well, I agree.
They don't care.
I agree, but I feel like it's literally. I think Marvel is like Amazon at this point. They just have so much money and jobs. They
have way less money than they did 2 years ago, after the Disneylands.
Well, yeah, I mean,
are all shut down.
I don't know. Well, keep in mind this was filmed before all that. But I mean, I agree. I think their profit margins are so big. I don't know. Literally, I can't think of an entity that has ever been as big as this. Disney all included, but even just the Marvel sector and everything like that.
Well, we'll talk about AT&T later with Chris Nolan and that whole thing, because that's probably up there, my man. That's probably up there with those. We're talking those telecom conglomerates that own everything. Those are pretty much. That's the only competitors that Disney really has left to do any of this shit.
The real battle of giant monsters is all of the giant fucking telecommunications companies that are.
Could have used that segue half hour ago.
Well, you know what? Magic of editing. Just saying. If you.
Well, there you go. Would you be less? Would you hate this less if they put all the episodes out at once? I absolutely fucking hate that they've done this, where they've went. We'll give you 2 because even we know how screwed up only 1 is going to look on its own.
Yeah.
So we'll give you 2, and then we're going to go, we'll give you 1, and then we're going to give you 1, and then we're going to give you... And that's how I assume they're going to stretch it all out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, to make more people go wow, I've heard great things, let's sign up for Disney Plus. You don't want to dump it all out and then take that shot. I understand that strategy, but do you feel like you would hate this less if you got to just sit there and crank maybe 4 or 5 out at once?
Well,
maybe if they put it out in half.
The thing is, I think the show might get good. I'm still going to be interested.
I feel like we're on the cusp of it possibly getting good.
Yeah, but the thing is that it sucks is I think Feige even came out and said yeah, don't worry, it's got a slow start, but you'll be rewarded. So it really does feel like it's going to be building to something, and I kind of feel.
So why are you making us work for weeks, my man?
I know. Or I almost wish they were here's 5 episodes, because I assume
because nothing else works like that. Nothing else just gets a granted hey, we're a new pilot. Can you just hang in there for 3 weeks and we'll see if we don't get canceled? No one else does that.
Well,
you literally got to live. You're living week to week, but they're just so far up their ass with the Marvel that they're just, it's insulting.
Well, the other thing is they're trying to, the fact of the matter is they, I really think it's they're we got these audiences by the tail. They will gobble it. They could literally just have the next Avengers movie could be Spider-Man shitting in a bag and rubbing it all over the camera, and people would love it. It's.
I hate that. As a dude who loves Star Wars, believe me, I will. Did we go see a movie together? Which one did we see? Which have we seen together?
We saw the episode 7, I think, back when you were still living here and everything like that, but
I'm trying to remember but I remember distinctly going, I hate that movie. I hated this. This was horrible. I don't have. And then our friend who we've had on the podcast, and we've talked about Last Jedi with my buddy Damon Martin. It took him a while for like the rosy stink to like leave his vision, you know. But he was like, yeah, you know what? That movie did suck. And I was like, yeah, I knew instantly it sucked. At least you enjoyed a new fun Star Wars movie for like 6 months.
Right.
And it was only until then that he went back and he was like, oh yeah, you know, it does suck. But yeah, I hate that properties just kind of have that gravitas that they can just get away with just being just so incredibly, you know.
It's like fucking. It's almost like a like cult. Like, you know, it's that Jonestown. Right. You know.
Well, it's like people hate Tarantino. Like the people that didn't like the Tarantino movie.
Oh,
what was it called?
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Once Upon a. They were like, oh, Tarantino, we get it, bro. Fuck, it's just so up Tarantino's ass. It's like, yeah, well, this is, you know, if he can do it, I guess everyone can. But
yeah, I mean, but you know, so like, look, they do their thing and they do it well, and like, they are rewarding like the fans of the comics who like made them back in the day.
You're a fan of the comics.
I'm not. We're getting the shit they're doing in WandaVision, like I've read like I kind of can.
Did you read House of M?
I did.
And
I
all
read
the stuff
House
with the
of
twins
M
and everything.
I read House of M, but the whole Agatha. I think that's all like early '80s Chris Claremont thing. Like I remember her character.
Where were you on that, bro?
Dude, I see.
You're my man on the inside. I'm not reading these comics. You know what I mean,
dude?
Do you still have a Marvel Plus account?
No. I got rid of that. That and DC a while ago. I just got. You know, you can't have all the subscriptions to everything, man. Gotta pick and choose.
All right. Well, we'll send you back out there in the ether. You know, next week we want to report on, you know, tell me about Wanda's kids and what are they called? Mephisto. And, you know, I want to know everything, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to read them, but I want you to just be able to explain them to me.
Yeah, well, I feel like that's kind of what... It's almost like they need to hand out, like, just Cliff Notes for all these movies.
Then why are we doing this?
I know. Well, that's the thing is like...
If, like... I don't want to watch IGN to understand what the fuck I'm watching.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? Like, who is this for? Is this for? You literally need to work at Nerdist to appreciate this. And then meanwhile, you go over to Rotten Tomatoes and every idiot is like, yeah, you know, oh, incredible, breathtaking. This is incredible.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't understand what's happening, though. How is it incredible, though?
Yeah, it's definitely like, I mean, it's very clear they're doing something weird and different, and I think people are really excited about that because they get really excited about Marvel movies and the fact that, you know, I feel like...
Is it because of the drought?
Probably.
Right?
I mean, yeah, that's the thing.
What are we at, 2 years?
I don't know, like over a year.
When was the last one?
When the fuck is Black Widow coming out, though? Like, is that
it's
ever...
never coming out.
I think that's just going to be... Yeah, on the horizon.
No, I'll see it on Disney Play 2022 or something. I don't know. They'll have to re-digitally age. Scarlett Johansson will be 48 years old.
It's just a movie that doesn't exist. It's just a trailer that they will never release or whatever.
Well, there you go. I mean, it looks cool. I'll give him that. You know, Matt Shackman. He's the main director. He's done things such as It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Fargo, Game of Thrones. Ever heard of those?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a few of those. But so he's doing it. You know.
I mean,
and then the woman that is the showrunner, is she doing Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel? She's doing something. I don't know.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of talent, and
I
like, you know, I think it's still a smart show, even if it's like a lot of the stuff is, you know, once again, like maybe they're just like, hey, we want to appeal to a narrower. You know, I feel like they're doing all this like kind of market research every time.
It's the narrowest.
Well, like I think they're trying to figure out how much work their fan base is willing to do if they get weird. You know what I mean? Like before, because
I don't think much, because Ash made it 7 minutes into the first episode without getting back on Instagram.
Yeah, and I think same thing with Ross. Ross was like, "Man, this show's got to pick up soon," and I don't blame him because I'm kind of interested in this stuff, but yeah, I mean, like, you know, fucking grandma's not gonna give a shit about any of the sword. I feel or
this was made for comic book guy and his most loyalist of customers.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? And then I've never seen, man, I follow every single cool nerd hipster IGN Nerdist heavy spoiler. I follow all of those YouTube channels, and I've never seen as much content of this WandaVision episode 1 explained Easter eggs, 70 things you didn't know.
Dude, I think that's the thing. I think this show is like, I was like kind of joking about it, but it's like Easter egg the show. Like, I think they want to see how much, and if you think about it, this is the thing that's like kicking off like all of whatever the fuck they're going to be doing for the next 10 years. So I feel like it's just like, okay, we're just going to kind of lay the groundwork for a lot of the things that are going to be coming into play later. But see, the big difference between now and like when they were doing it the first go around, like back in the 2010s and everything like that, it was like quainter back then. Like now they're like, and like now they're going to have to incorporate the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and they got to get into the multiverse, and they're doing all these things at once. And once again, they got money to pay the best people on the planet to like try to figure out how to put all these things together, but it's a little bit of that like too many cooks feel a little bit like, like I'm curious to see how they balance this giant monster franchise. Like I feel like it's like becoming like that Imagination Land episode of South Park where all the properties are starting to come together, and it just starts to turn into this like pretty awesome but also just like grotesquely like all over the place, or like Ready Player One, like just all the properties are just one big mishmash now.
I agree. It kind of takes it away from me a little bit, but we remain hopeful, if nothing else.
Yes, we always
that this will sort of start making sense. It seems to be veering in that direction of where you can just sort of pick it up. I think that's my real fear with some of these insane properties, is that it just alienates a huge amount of people that are like, yo, I don't have time to read a comic or watch 18 movies to understand what's going on. And I felt like in the later stages of the MCU, as even a young man trying to make podcasts about this content, I can't remember what happened in Marvel's Civil War 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's kind of the thing too, of like with them coming out with all this Marvel content with greater frequency, it just kind of like gets a little exhausting sometimes. I do wonder if there is going to be this point where we finally actually hit superhero fatigue. Like, even though I'm
there already. I've been there for 4 years.
I've been there too, but the thing is, like, it's not. It's kind of like. I was gonna say zombie movies, but no, like superheroes are crazier than that. Like, yeah, it just. I think I haven't read the article yet, but I saw this article the other day that had the title like, "Is there anything left to say in superhero movies?" And the answer is yes. Like, I mean, there's always more to say because like comics have always like evolved and tried to do different things. But I think Spielberg said like, look, back in the 60s, cowboy movies were everywhere, and like now, how often do you see a cowboy movie? So, superheroes will have its day too, where I think people get fed up. So I'm curious to see where Marvel will be at like phase 7. Like if basically whenever they get
hopefully we're long dead by then.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, literally every movie is just going to be like a fucking Marvel/Star Wars movie, because that's when they're going to have fucking Star Wars characters in the fucking Marvel universe and everything like that.
That's fine. Worlds collide, bro.
Yeah.
Worlds collide.